And when you find out what you don't like about yourself, you need to identify which of these things are real and which are just negative thoughts planted in your mind by other people. This is so important.
We're gonna have a good day. This is your breakfast show. And it's happening, guys. It's happening. We're at that part of the show where we have our special guest, the A-Team. A-Team? Well, Petrina RP. I know, we call them the A-Team. They literally skyrocket through the ceiling of our studios and they're joining us here today. So, want to say a huge, massive good morning to Ronald Petrina. Good morning to you guys.
Good morning, Robert.
Morning, Robert.
How are
you?
I'm good. How is the dynamic duo today?
Full of sunshine.
Sunshine and fresh air.
I can imagine you guys storing them in jars. You know, storing some sunshine, storing some jars, because it's like, you know what I mean? We when we need it to have access to it. But look, thank you so much for joining us this morning, you two. Obviously, we're going to be sharing some wonderful things today. Just a brief one. How was you guys' weekend?
It was good.
It was all right.
Yeah.
I was able to do quite a bit of work on our website, Planet Wellness.
Yes.
And it takes you just don't realize how much work goes into building a website. There's so many parts to it. It's incredible.
It's true.
Like FAQs and it's got to be interesting so people can look at it and want to read it and understand what's going on.
Absolutely.
It's taken about 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
On an almost daily basis to work at that. So, but the sunshine, I did a bit of gardening as well yesterday afternoon. It's great.
Ooh, that vitamin D. We can never get enough of it, especially in this country.
You got the 16 yesterday. It was quite good.
Yes, it was. I felt it, man. I felt it. I was loving it. And interesting, and just in saying that, those of you who are listening right now, have you ever thought about learning how to build websites? Because I think it looks like people are becoming more involved in e-commerce, promoting themselves more online and social media. So just want to bounce off what Ronald just pointed out to us just now. But in saying that, we've been going through a journey together, Ronald, with your wellness tip, and you got a hot one for later on today, which you're going to come to.
Yes.
Right now in this first part, it's Petrina that's up first. And Petrina, we're doing a book review, right? What are we doing a book review on?
Yes, we are. We are continuing on a book review on the book called Bulletproof Dating.
And last week, we've covered quite a few things, right? Can you just recap us on what we touched on last week?
Yeah, so last week, we covered on things like when you start dating, you need to set a end goal, which is when you need to get married as well. Or do you have any intentions to get married instead of just carry on dating forever?
It's true. Because how many people have fallen into that trap, right?
Yes.
It's the reality of what's happening, It's interesting. So what we're going to be looking at today?
Today, we are going to be sharing really the secret of a relationship, a happy relationship.
Ooh, the secret of a happy relationship. I love it. Yes. I love it. Okay, well, you know what? Without further ado, take us to the promised land.
Okay, so it talks about having 3 loves in your relationship itself. So it starts with saying many people don't know that for a love relationship to be successful, it has to take 3rd place among all other relationships in their lives. There are 2 relationships that we need to be well cultivated before a dating relationship can be bulletproof.
Ooh, okay.
And since many people...
So wait, hold on there. Wait, I thought a relationship was meant to be just with one person.
Yes.
Right? That like.
However,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, however, it says obviously you have that relationship with one person, but remember you are the second person as well. It takes two to be in a relationship.
Oh, okay, yeah. And you're going to explore that now. Okay, I was going to say like bulletproof dating, you know, it needs to be 3 people. I'm like, oh God, this is a curveball. This is a curve. No one saw that coming, especially on Liberty Radio. All right, but okay, so 3 people. So help us to understand. Yeah.
Okay. So I read again. It says, many people don't know that for a love relationship to be successful, it needs to be third place among all other relationships in their lives. There are 2 other relationships that need to be well cultivated before a dating relationship can be bulletproof.
The one with your mom and dad.
Pardon?
Sorry to interrupt. The one with your mom and dad, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Just check it.
No.
I had to just throw that one in there. I had to just. Okay. Sorry. I won't interrupt. Sorry. I just want to be clever.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And since many people ignore this, they fail in choosing the right person to date, or they end up losing the person they love. Their 3 top relationships are either not in the right order, or they are being neglected. So really, the first one. The first love basically is saying it's about God, your creator. Okay. How you actually need to be in touch with God first before you actually start the other 2 relationships.
Okay. Okay. So many people will be like, okay, I never thought of that. I just thought my life is my life. What does God have to kind of do with it in certain situations? Yeah. So help us to understand this further.
Yeah, so what happens is when you go back to the Bible, you know, the 10 Commandments, it says, the first one is actually, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. So that is the first and great commandment. And the second one says, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So that's the order of the relationship itself. So God first, you second, and then others.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I can see how that can work out. Are you going to elaborate it more? Can I just give a little side note here?
Yeah, you can give the side note, and I'll
yeah. So I can see how this would work, because many people there are those who want to act as if God doesn't exist, right? But however, biblically speaking, the God of the Bible gives us sets of principles to kind of help us on day-to-day life. We're not just going by whatever trauma existed before, whatever bad advice we existed before, but we're going through God's advice that realigns our advice. And if we love him first, that means we're going to respect and honor him even when other people can't see us. And because we know he's everywhere, we're going to always, you know, do our best to behave ourselves and have a satisfaction that, you know, that is more profound. You know, it's harder to become a needy person when you have, you know, God's presence, you know, involved.
That's correct.
And the second one was yourself. So most people usually have so much issues, or they put themselves down. They have a lot of lack self-worth, and that can be toxic to a relationship, isn't it? Because if you can't love yourself, how can you love someone else? So this is interesting. Please continue.
Yeah, so it says without a relationship with God, which is our first relationship, we can't have the second one, a relationship with ourselves. And that really makes sense, because remember, we were created, so we need to have that initial first relationship first before we can actually love ourselves as well. Yeah, gotcha. It says a relationship with yourself begins when you become aware of who you are. It's not an easy task, because the person we think we are is almost always a product of the people we came in contact with in our early years. Wow. And this has actually molded our personalities. That is so true. Because how we grew up, the people whom we've been grown up with, they all affect how we think as well. Absolutely.
And you know, just to add to that, I had a conversation with a friend of mine on a WhatsApp status, and they asked, they posed the question: when you come to God, does having God mean you have to lose your personality? Yeah. And I said to, and many people had their different thoughts, and I said to her that no, it doesn't. I expressed myself, and I explained that when it comes to God, in this world, like you said, Petrina, echoing off what you said, we have so many influences, many people putting their hurt and their bad experience on us unintentionally. Yes. There are good experiences as well, different things, and we can develop a mask that is not really who we are. It's like when I see my son and my daughter, they have their personalities from a young age. Every parent can see this child has their personality. They may be quiet, they may be outspoken, but you can see their personalities. But then life puts these layers on them, you know, depending on their environment. And it's like God hits a reset button. You know, God hits a reset button to kind of bring us back to our original self, how he intended us to be, and builds on that. So we don't lose our personality. We actually come to who we really are, which is important. Yeah. And I don't want to digress. Yeah. You get it.
Yeah. So it's interesting how you're talking about your children. It says a child's personality is established by the time he or she is 12 years old. So like you rightly say, you know, just before 12, they have their own personality. However, you know, along the way, they've met people, they've gone to schools, they're mixing with other children, and however the parents or the guardians have brought them up, all that will actually affect their personality as well as they grow up.
My daughter is 11.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you, absolutely. I can see those subtle influences from secondary school. You know, we kind of keep her in check, like, hey, daughter, remember where you are from.
Yeah, and it's important also, like, you know, the other things like media they're exposed to as well, because these days, you know, they're exposed to all sorts of like movies, games, and things like that. That's important as well.
Seriously, my son and this YouTube games channel. If you're a parent and you know what I'm talking about, say I. Seriously. I'm really careful about it, because sometimes you have adults in those channels and they're behaving like adults about games. And so those ones I'm very careful about. But we have layers that can influence our personality while we're young. It's true.
And also things like even like books and magazines as well, and you know, newspapers and things like that. You know, you see so much, like for example, like ladies, maybe children want to grow up too quick and, you know, be made up and have their, you know, all sorts of things done to themselves. Yeah,
absolutely. Seriously, I don't know what that's about, but let children be children.
Yes.
Please. It's just my call out. Yes.
Yeah. So it goes on to say, we define our identity by how others treat or have treated us, at least until we get to know ourselves better. But until that time happens, if it happens, it could take years. Most people spend their entire lives without truly knowing themselves.
That's true. Sometimes, so if somebody, it's like we've heard it so many times, if somebody says somebody is, I use the word unintelligent or stupid, that a child is so malleable that it can imprint on the child and it can stay in their subconscious. Yes. You know, and it's true. And we grow up with that until there's a moment where we can kind of center ourselves and be like, who am I really? You know, and I think that's why you hear so much about when certain children reach a certain age, it's like the parents like, who is this child? This is the child that I raised. Who is this child? Because of all these subtle and strong influences.
Yeah. So we make a lot of mistakes in life because of an identity that was imposed on us by others. With the excuse that everyone makes mistakes, many people don't even bother to understand why they make mistakes.
Wow, that's a huge one. Most people don't understand why they make mistakes. Oh my gosh. And, you know, and how many people have made the same mistake over and over again, and you're the friend and you're like, haven't you learned your lesson yet? You know what I mean? Or you're the friend that is encouraging those same mistakes. And sometimes people look at the mistake, but they don't backtrack and understand why. You know, I'm getting good advice, but I ended up here again. Why? I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that, but it's just food for thought that you're passing to us here, Petrina.
Yeah. So it says sometimes people start a relationship in an attempt to meet their own childhood needs, a lack of affection, for example, or attention, as well as so many other problems, has robbed them of the most basic concepts of family. So when these people reach adulthood, they search for something they never had in their childhood, such as love.
Wow. Or their interpretation of love, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, so we need to be careful, be mindful of that as well. And it says, when your relationship with yourself is bad, you automatically put yourself last in everything. Others take your place in life. For example, they might cause you to be jealous, insecure, needy, emotional, and everything else, that you're seeking for.
Wow. And the thing is, this is, I'm going to say that, especially in this day and age, to be needy, to be easily jealous, to be easily aggravated, all these kind of things are, they've always existed among people, and but obviously we're seeing it now because of social media, etc., and the way we can communicate faster. But these are things that it's like we think that we just have to naturally live with, or it's part of how a relationship should be. Like, I remember when I used to watch these sitcoms, particular sitcoms that comes on a particular channel that has a particular theme tune, and the color scheme is toilet green, toilet blue, and gray, and it gives a particular position on relationships and all kinds of stuff that happens. And if you feed yourself on that daily, and you have those issues because of what's happening in your personal life, you could think that's normal. But what you're saying is we can't see that as being normal. We need to, we need to get information from somewhere to kind of break out of that.
Exactly. This what I mentioned as well in the previous interviews, that if you're watching too much TV or too much things that are unreal, then your mind will be affected by it as well. For example, if you're watching a movie which is like 2 or 3 hours in duration, that maps out the entire relationship of the actors and actors, and then you try to fit that into your life, it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, all right, I gotcha. So, and put yourself. So we, like, as we're learning this, listeners, I think we need to self-analyze ourselves. You probably have quite a few relationship challenges, or you probably have friends that, using their intelligence, could tell you, like, this person isn't good for you. Or you keep running back to a certain type of individual. It's because you have situations where you've put yourself last. This person puts you last, but you can't see it because you have been accustomed to believe that is your worth. And this happens for men, and this happens for women. Right? And then you got television showing us, like, these things actually could be normal.
Yes.
Wow.
So it says, before you find yourself a boy or girlfriend, you need to find yourself. Unless you learn how to love yourself, you won't be able to love someone else.
We've got work to do, people. We've got work to do. Hello. We're in Finsbury Park, but I can't reach Camberwell without going through what's that place beginning with C? What's that place beginning with C that just up the road, just begins with C? Camden. Yeah, I can't go back to Campbell without passing through Camden. So there's a process, right? There should be. So what you're telling us, Petrina, is that there's a process to find healthy love, and it starts with finding ourselves first. That time we take out. Many people spend so much time being single, but they spend time working and doing things, but they forget to take time out to discover themselves. And it might sound strange, but it's so true. It's so true.
I'd like to add a comment. When I was growing up, my grandfather from my mum's side came from French extraction, and so did my grandma. And then I remember at the age of about 13, I was observing the relationship between my grandfather and his wife,
Mm-hmm.
and the relationship between my mum and my dad.
Yeah.
Right, and it was remarkable how the amount of affection after 50 odd years was very, very evident with my grandfather and grandmother. And yet my parents, who'd been married about 15 odd years, you know, they were like affection maybe once a week, right? Okay. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. So I deliberately kept observing my grandma and grandpa, and I never, ever, ever saw them have a fight. Ever. It was amazing, right? And yet I would see probably a fight, a decent fight, about once a month with my parents. And I thought, what is the difference? And the difference was there was more affection and more caring in the relationship between my grandpa and my grandmother. And whatever they did together, whether it was cooking, marketing, going to markets, gardening, they were always together. And when Grandpa would be out in the garden, about every hour or so, Grandma would come out with a cup of tea or some beverage and give it to him, and he'd look at her, and you see that look in his eyes like, wow, I married the right woman here.
Wow.
You know, and so they were married for over 50 years. Amazing. You know, and I remember the relationship was so strong. She ended up dying of some form of cancer in those days, and when she died, he only lasted about 9 months afterwards. He was like, I want to go with her.
So these guys,
you know, it was amazing.
So these two were proper joined together. They were attached. Absolutely attached. They were merged.
Yeah.
They were totally merged together, and I think that's absolutely phenomenal. And it just shows that if once you, because the thing about it is, I think the issue is that there's too much internal clutter nowadays in our personalities and our attitudes that interfere on how to love and how to, even the roles. Like sometimes a woman to come out there and give her husband a cup of tea in the garden, in some nowadays we might be frowned upon, like, oh, are you his slave? You know, and there's all this kind of reasoning, secular reasoning, all these kind of things that are happening now. But
I think one big factor is that if I can isolate one factor that was different back then, was that my grandfather and grandmother didn't have TV. There was no TV in that time. We're talking about 1950s, 40s, right? There was no TV, and there was one radio, and they would only listen to the radio on a Sunday night.
Is it?
Yeah, on a Sunday night. They had a particular program, Christian program. They would listen to that on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
But every other day, it was conversation, it was hugs, and it was affection. It was cooking together, eating together. Every meal, eating together.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Excellent. So we got a great example there.
But today, there's so many distractions like the internet, you know, the radio, the TV, and some of the shows are really, really derelict in the way they approach relationships. And I think people mimic themselves on that, and they try, and then they end up with fights, severe fights, and that's why divorce is so prevalent today. It's just there's no relationship. It's just like that's it, But there's no relationship like my grandfather and mother. None. Okay. I don't see it. You know, even if the older people about 80 or 90 know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But the people about 40 or below, they are more locked into the internet and their phone, and it's just incredible.
Wow.
The whole thing's changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can't have a relationship when I've seen people walking on the park with their phone, and they're both doing texting other people on their phone.
Exactly.
Well, what sort of relationship is that?
And that makes sense. That makes sense because imagine if the relationship is built on each other, but we have so many distractions. That means we're distracted from each other, but initially we're distracted from ourselves as well.
Yes.
And this is quite damaging.
Yeah.
You know, we were speaking about the three loves that we need to have in our life. The first one is for God, the first one is for ourselves, and the third one should be with the other person, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you could just kind of give us please give us a recap just for.
Yeah. So as you say, the first one is with God. So we need to create our relationship with our Creator first, and then we need to get to know ourselves and be happy with ourselves before we find the right person. And when it says about being in a good relationship with yourself, you need to find out what you don't like about yourself. Now, most of the times, what we don't like about ourselves, it's been influenced by others and whatever we've come across. For example, whether we are too tall, we're too short, we're too fat, we're too thin.
Yes.
And when you find out what you don't like about yourself, you need to identify which of these things are real and which are just negative thoughts planted in your mind by other people. This is so important.
Okay. Which of these?
And especially children. Growing up. I remember, when I was at school, you get to meet all sorts of characters, and some may be, rude to you. It could even be teachers, teaching you the wrong stuff. And all this actually goes into your mind as well, and it just plays as you're growing up. Everything that has been negative, that has been said to you or said to you in the wrong way, that affects you in your childhood, and you take that along when you grow into an adult as well. And thirdly is you need to believe in those who truly like you.
Okay.
So whatever negativity that has come across you during childhood and right into your adulthood, you need to, draw a line on that and decide which is real and which are just negative thoughts that you need to get rid of, and move towards more mixing with the people who actually instill positivity in you.
Wow. You've really hit the practicalities right there. And you know what? I think that's it. So which of these things that you have inside of you are real and which are false? Children can be so mean and horrible. And you've really hit the nail on the head. And I think what you're getting at is we need to have that moment of where we take a self-inventory of ourselves, of our feelings, of our behaviors, and to have someone that believe in those who truly like you. Like I would say that, I have like certain people in my life that I can be very open with, and I know will be very frank with me, wanting the best for me, and will tell me, Robert, you're not doing well here. I have, there are not many of them, but I have people like that in my life who know me that well, who I could be very transparent with. And I think everybody needs to have people like that in their life as well.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So
moving on to the third relationship.
Can we do something? Can we save the third one till next week?
Oh yes. That's fine.
Let's save the third one till next week. So next week we'll do like a quick recap, and then we'll go into the first one and the third one, and we'll unpack it and drop it like it's hot.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Excellent. Connect online Monday to Friday with special guests for inspiration, motivation to start your morning right. Music, banter, fun and laughter. Connect when you start your mornings with The Breakfast Show. Only on libertyradio.co.uk. That's right, The Breakfast Show is back. libertyradio.co.uk from 6:30 a.m.